going on, everyone? This is Matt, Squeaky Clean Air. We're back again. Today we're going to be talking about sealing your air suspension or sealing your fittings. I'm going to go in a little bit more depth in regards to it. And it's exciting time. It's getting a lot warmer. We're getting close to spring. So the snow is melting. I'm just getting excited because it's getting warmer. So stay tuned for this video and hope you enjoy. All right, so here's some air suspension fittings. There you go. And here's various ways of sealing your air suspension fittings. My favorite is Loctite thread sealants, whether it's 545 or 577. These are really great choices and options. If you don't have access to your thread sealants, you guys can of course use the white tape that's readily available almost everywhere, wherever there's a hardware store. So I'm not particularly fond of these because the tape is pretty thin. So sometimes you need a lot of it in order to be able to seal it from leaks. My favorite, if you're going to be using tape, is the orange Masters tape or the yellow. They're both really good and they'll do the job. The difference is this tape is a lot thicker, and of course it's the preferred choice for a lot of plumbers out there, or anyone that's sealing fittings, and because it's a lot thicker and it seals really nicely. A lot of the fittings that you can buy already come with thread sealant applied. It could be in white, it could be various colors, it could be blue. I've seen some of them in blue, but most of the time it's white or the red. I know the fittings that you can buy from Home Depot, and this is where you have the thread sealant already applied to the fittings. Now, here's a little tip for you guys. See, a lot of the times you guys are going to have people telling you about that you have the thread sealant already applied on the fitting, and then you're going to have people going in with the tape over the thread sealant. So you're going to use a prepped fitting like that already has the thread sealant on it, on the threads, and then they're going to apply the tape over it. I highly recommend not doing that, is because what happens is it makes your fittings a lot more bulkier. It makes the threads a lot more thicker. And what might end up happening is if you guys are threading into like a tank or threading into another fitting, like maybe an expander, when you're going from a 1/4 inch, what this is, into a 3/8, you can actually potentially crack the fitting you're going into, especially if it has a thin wall. Let me demonstrate. All right, so for example, say you guys are going from a 1/4 inch, which what this is, and you guys are putting in this fitting in order to make it and up thread it to say a 3/8. Okay, to begin with, this fitting doesn't really have a very thick sidewall on it. Okay, so imagine if you guys are using a fitting like this that has thread sealant on it, and then you guys are also putting tape on top of the thread sealant, which is overkill. You guys are fitting in or trying to push a much wider fitting into this fitting. You can potentially crack the wall over here. And potential for unnecessary cracked fittings, unnecessary leaks that you guys are going to have a very hard time trying to troubleshoot, and it's not needed. If it already has thread sealant on it, it's probably sufficient enough for it not to leak when you guys are putting it into the fitting. There's really no need to put tape on top of this in order to sort of, more is better. Not necessarily, especially when you guys are going to be doing that and you guys are going to be cracking the fittings. So I don't recommend doing that. If it has a thread sealant on it, it should be sufficient enough. If it has a thread sealant in it, you guys, for example, putting it into a fitting and it still leaks, clean this off using wire brush, bring it back to a bare sort of a metal thread, and then apply either some more of the thread sealant or apply tape. Not both. Unnecessary. Either or is good enough. Because what you guys are going to start doing is, as you guys are going to be putting in a very bulky threaded fitting like this into another fitting, you might actually be cracking these fittings, and you guys are going to have premature damage and unnecessary leaks. So I strongly recommend not to do that. Okay. I don't also recommend going without any thread sealant or without any tape into a fitting. So don't just bare thread into, for example, a tank fitting or another fitting without any kind of a thread sealant. Either use the Loctite, use a tape, which is the orange tape or the white tape. Try not to thread into thread without any sort of a thread sealant, because you guys are going to get instant leak. So that's point number 2. What else can we talk about? We can also talk about the fact that if you guys are reusing fittings, make sure to remove any kind of a sealant, whether it's dried up thread sealant, whether it's tape. Make sure you guys use a wire brush to completely remove any kind of sealant back to original threads, and then reseal it with any kind of sealant that you guys want. It's very important. If you guys kind of clean it just okay and you still have tape left on the actual threads, and then you guys put tape on top of the leftover tape, you guys have a potential of cross-threading your fittings. Highly unrecommended, and then it's just going to cost you a lot of headaches. So clean all the threads as clean as possible as it is right now, and then apply either tape or thread sealant. Perfect. Let me show you guys how to apply tape nicely on the actual threaded fitting as a final point. Okay, so here's your fitting. Here's your tape. What I usually do is I go like that, and I go from this side, and then I go around like that. And the reason why I do that is because you're going in the direction of where you're going to be threading in the fitting. And I usually go once or once and a half around. It's like that. And then I go around. And then this is also a very nice visual check, because if you guys are threading it into like a fitting, so for example like this, by going in this direction, if you're spinning it into the fitting and the thread tape is not coming off, that means you've did it correctly. But it's very important sort of to clean that up, go around and kind of create a seal like that. So go around and kind of like go over the thread so you have a nice sort of a threaded surface. This will avoid any cross threads, and it'll go in nicely into the fitting. Now, here's where I'm going to mention something. You guys notice, if you guys ever use any tape, whether it's the orange tape, yellow tape, or the white tape, when you're putting it into fittings, especially if you guys are doing hard lines, you're always going to have some residual tape left over, right? Whereas if you guys use a thread sealant, something like this, for example, you're only going to have it on the threads, which means it's going to be much cleaner finish. You guys are going to running into a situation where you guys are going to have a lot less sort of visible tape all around, your hardline setup. So your hardline setup is going to be a lot cleaner. If you guys don't have thread sealant, you guys are in a rush or anything like that, or you're kind of working with the tape, that's all. Fit it in, seal it as best as you can, and any residual tape that's left over, you guys can always use. Let me get this. You guys can always use a wire brush and sort of clean it off, right? And kind of peel it off, sort of to get rid of the threads. In this case, this wire brush is kind of not the best, and the zoom, it happens to be a pain in the ass. But so that's another option, obviously. When you guys are cleaning the tape, let me get a better wire brush. 1 second. When you guys are cleaning the tape off of fittings, when you have the sealant tape, use a wire brush. What that will do is we'll scuff it up. And it'll be a lot easier to kind of remove. And that's why I probably also recommended to use the orange tape, because the orange tape has a nicer tendency to sort of seal around the threads. But this is what I meant on the previous video. When you guys are removing, make sure that you remove all the thread sealant. Don't just remove a little bit and then leave some on there. Make sure the fitting is clean. So this is unacceptable. It has to be completely clean. And then you guys are going to find that by using a wire brush, there you go. So that's a lot cleaner. So now you guys are able to use, let me remove this. Now you guys are able to use any kind of a thread sealant that you guys want to use, whether it's tape, whether it's goop or the Loctite or whatever. And now your fitting is ready to apply tape. So again, if you guys are using the white tape, for example, open it up, kind of go behind it like this, go around like that, and then just you're going in the direction of how you're going to be threading it in. See it? This is a nice touch. Now with the white tape being thinner, of course you guys are going to need a lot. Don't go crazy on it. Probably about 2 turns is enough. But once you have it in this, kind of go around the threads in order to create a defined thread, because that will make it easier for you guys to thread it into the fittings. And if you guys will see it, the white tape is a lot thinner than like the orange tape or the yellow tape. So you need to use a little bit more on it, but it might lead into leaks. So I found that with experience, I prefer to use this one. It's a couple bucks more than the white tape, which you can buy for 40 cents. I think this one's like $2, but this will give you a lot nicer seals. Again, be very sporadic. Sorry, don't use too much of it as well, right? You don't want to have like a really thick amount of tape buildup when you guys are putting it in. Just enough to sort of seal the threads. Like this is sufficient enough where you guys went over with your finger, created a nice sort of a thread path, and then that will thread in nicely into the fittings without any sort of cross threads. If you guys have too much tape on it, it might, cross thread, and you might actually cross thread the threads that are inside here, and you guys are not going to get satisfactory results. So this is pretty good. And if you guys want to sort of like reseal it or remove it, make sure to use a wire brush. And also you guys will find that the white tape has a tendency to remove it a lot easier because it's not as thick as the orange tape. But you guys want to remove all of the tapes from all the threads, and then now you guys can put in a thread sealant, or you guys can use tape or whatever you guys have available. I do have a video out there that I do show how I put in fittings into my manifold, and I happen to use the Loctite 545, and I also demonstrate how much of a cleaner result you guys have, especially if you guys are doing trunk setups for hard lines. The problem with using tape, obviously, you guys are going to have over tape of the tape, which could be removed once it's sealed in there, obviously with a wire brush, but it's just additional work that you could be avoided if you guys use the Loctite. So hopefully this helps. Sort of a couple points. If this already has a thread sealant on it, it's really unnecessary to put tape over it, because you guys are actually going to be making your threads a lot more bulkier. It could cause premature fitting failure, where the fittings they're actually threading into, or tanks or anything like that, will actually cause them to crack along the lines over here, and then you guys are going to have leaks that are going to be extremely hard to diagnose. So I don't recommend it. If it already has thread sealant on it, just use it in and then tighten it up, and you're good to go. Also, don't recommend putting in a fitting without any kind of a thread sealant into another fitting like that, because you guys are not going to have the nice seal necessary in between the threads that any one of the thread sealants will provide. So you don't want to go in bare, because you guys are going to have almost guaranteed leaks, right? Or you guys are going to be forcing the fitting so much that you're actually inadvertently also going to destroy the fitting you're going into, or a tank or anything like that, where something's got to give, right? These are cast brass fittings, so you guys don't want to force too much, because you're actually going to start cracking them and destroying them. So I don't recommend doing that. So a couple more tips. Hopefully this helps you guys a little bit more with air suspension, and I'll keep making these videos to help you guys out. And if you like it, leave comments and likes, and I appreciate you guys watching my videos, and see you on the next one. All the best. And spring is coming, so I'm quite excited, because right now we've just had winter in Canada, so we're getting warmer weather, and all the best.